which included government officials, officials from defense forces, top companies, law enforcement, international experts, lawyers, domain experts, researchers, and students. And to take this forward, we have launched state chapters, which is called Future Crime Warriors. So if you want to be part of Future Crime Research Foundation's journey and mission, आप हमारे पार्टनर बन सकते हैं. You can become a Future Crime Warrior. We have a link जिसमें आप अपने details भरेंगे. You just go there, fill in your detail, and we will reach out to you. And interestingly, this Saturday, we are having our first virtual meet because over 750 people have joined us for this mission. And we are going to talk about what we are going to do under this mission and what would be the roles and responsibility of these warriors. Now, coming to the topic why we are here. So this is Future Crime Decoded, our webinar series, and it is all about getting the best experts to explain and decode emerging technologies and future crime that we are going to face in the future. This is our third webinar, which is on tackling crypto crimes through blockchain forensics. And to decode this complex topic, we have best of experts here. But first, I would like to invite Professor Triveni Singh, who is also our mentor and a former IPS officer. So over to you, Triveni sir.
Yeah, thank you, Shashank. Thank you, Sanjeev ji, Navin ji, Nicholas, Hers.
Triveni sir,
yeah.
I have already told our participants that this is going to be a mix of English and Hindi, and wherever they have any problem, they'll just type it out in the chat box about if they are finding something very too technical. Please go ahead, sir.
बिल्कुल सही है. जितने भी स्पीकर्स हैं, हमारी रिक्वेस्ट ये है कि हिंदी और अंग्रेजी मिक्स करके ही बोलेंगे, क्योंकि ज्यादातर पुलिस ऑफिसर्स हैं और ज्यादातर जो नॉर्थ बेल्ट के लोग हैं, लेकिन इसमें पैन इंडिया लोग जुड़े हुए हैं, साउथ से भी हैं, नॉर्थ ईस्ट से भी हैं. तो मैं ये कहूँगा कि इंग्लिश और हिंदी दोनों मिक्स करके करें ताकि सबके समझ में आए. मैं पुलिस ऑफिसर्स के लिए बता देना चाहता हूँ, या जो कारपोरेट इन्वेस्टिगेटर्स हैं, या जो बीएफएसआई सेक्टर में जो रिस्क कंसल्टिंग में लोग हैं, उनके लिए बहुत ही इम्पोर्टेंट ये सेशन है. उनको ध्यान से सुनना पड़ेगा. तो मैं यहाँ से शुरू करता हूँ कि आज की डेट में सारे क्रिमिनल्स जो है, उनका डिफैक्टो करेंसी ही ये बन गया है क्रिप्टो करेंसी जो है, उनके लिए अंडरवर्ल्ड की डिफैक्टो करेंसी यही हो. जैसे हम डॉलर में एक्सचेंज करते हैं या रुपीज में करते हैं, दे आर एक्सचेंजिंग इन क्रिप्टो करेंसी. तो अब ये सबसे बड़ा चैलेंज ये आ रहा है कि क्राइम करने के बाद, कोई भी बड़ा सिंडिकेट क्राइम करने के बाद वो क्या काम करता है कि उस पैसे को क्रिप्टो में ले जाता है और किसी तरह का वो मिक्सर टेक्नोलॉजी वगैरह यूज करके उसको प्राइवेट वॉलेट्स में, क्रिप्टो वॉलेट्स में डाल देता है, और उसकी ट्रैकिंग हमारे पुलिस के लिए बहुत ही मुश्किल काम है, इसलिए कि ढेर सारी चीजों को हमको कनेक्ट करना पड़ता है. जो क्रिप्टो करेंसी एक्सचेंज प्लेटफॉर्म है, उससे रियल टाइम में डेटा मिल नहीं पाता, या हम लोग के पास उस तरह के प्रोफेशनल या प्रोप्राइटरी टूल्स नहीं है जिससे हम इन्वेस्टिगेट लास्ट एंड तक. कहीं केवाईसी की प्रॉब्लम आती है, तो कहीं ये आता है कि प्राइवेट वॉलेट का कोई रिकॉर्ड नहीं मिल रहा है, कहीं ट्रांजैक्शन डिटेल ही नहीं है किसी क्रिप्टो करेंसी एक्सचेंज प्लेटफॉर्म पे, वो कन्वर्ट कहाँ हो रहा है फिएट करेंसी में, भी हमको पता नहीं चल पाता. एक मैं केस इन्वेस्टिगेट किया था, वो केस के थ्रू मैं 5 मिनट लूंगा. हाँ, ये केस है हमारे यहाँ इंडिया में. हमारे यहाँ बल्क एसएमएस भेजने के लिए डीएलटी प्लेटफॉर्म बना हुआ है, डिस्ट्रीब्यूटेड लेजर टेक्नोलॉजी बेस्ड प्लेटफॉर्म है, जहां पे हम बल्क मैसेज भेजते हैं इंडिया में. तो हम लोगों ने देखा इस डीएलटी प्लेटफॉर्म को मिसयूज करके क्रिमिनल्स जो है लाखों की संख्या में मैसेज जो है पब्लिक को भेजते हैं, कभी पार्ट टाइम जॉब के नाम पे, कभी इंस्टेंट लोन के नाम पे, कभी क्रिप्टो ट्रेडिंग के नाम पे. ये ढेर सारा मैसेज बल्क में लाखों डेली बेसिस पे भेजते हैं, और उसमें अगर 5-10% भी लोग अगर शिकार हो जाते हैं तो काफी बड़ा अमाउंट होता है. तो हम लोगों ने इन्वेस्टिगेशन जब शुरू किया तो 2.2 लाख, आप देखिए ये फिगर है 2.2 लाख, लेकिन अल्टीमेटली जब हमने इस केस को इन्वेस्टिगेट किया तो पता चला कि 4200 करोड़ रुपीस का ये पूरा स्कैम था. 4200 करोड़ रुपीस का पूरा स्कैम था. इस तरह से आपने देखा होगा, इस तरह से अगर आप कभी आपने ध्यान दिया होगा तो इस तरह के मैसेज आते हैं आपको, और इस तरह का डैशबोर्ड क्रिएट होकर आता है कि आपको इतना पैसा मिल गया। मैसेज जो आपको ऐसे ऐसे आपको व्हाट्सएप पे इस तरह के खूबसूरत लड़कियों के लड़कों के नंबर लगाए गए रहते हैं, और उनसे आपको मैसेज आता है कि हम क्रिप्टो ट्रेडर हैं, अगर आपको हाई रिटर्न चाहिए तो आप इसमें इन्वेस्ट करिए, पार्ट टाइम जॉब चाहिए तो आप इन्वेस्ट करिए। इस तरह करके इस तरह के सबको एसएमएस आज की डेट में आ रहा है। इसी तरह उस लड़की को मैसेज आया था 2.2 से लास्ट ओनली 2.2 लाख रुपीस, अल्टीमेटली द इंटायर अमाउंट वेंट अप टू 4200 करोड़ रुपीस। ये इस तरह से गूगल पे इस तरह के आप देखते होंगे, जब भी पार्ट टाइम जॉब कुछ भी अर्निंग ऐप आप डाल दीजिए तो इस तरह का आपको गूगल पे ढेर सारा मिलता है। और ज्यादातर साइबर क्रिमिनल्स एड एडवर्टीजमेंट के थ्रू गूगल सर्च इंजन में इसको ऊपर ला देते हैं, और उसके बाद लोगों को शिकार बना लेते हैं। हमारे सामने प्रॉब्लम क्या आई? प्रॉब्लम ये आई कि जब उस हमारी विक्टिम ने ये पैसा 2.2 लाख जमा किया, तो ये किसी बैंक के पर्टिकुलर अकाउंट में, वो नोडल अकाउंट था, वहां पैसा गया, और वहां से ये पैसा जो है इस तरह का एक्सचेंज आ रहा था, इसको उस तरह के रिटर्न भी उसको शो कर रहे थे। ये जो धोखाधड़ी का ये पूरा प्लेटफॉर्म उन लोगों ने बनाया था। तो अब एक बैंक था जिसमें उनका नोडल अकाउंट था क्रिमिनल्स का, जिसमें 4200 करोड़ रुपीस गया था। उससे वो पैसा जो है जेब पे, जो हमारा इंडिया गवर्नमेंट इंडिया का लोकल क्रिप्टो करेंसी एक्सचेंज प्लेटफॉर्म है एक, जेब पे वहां पैसा गया, ये पूरा पैसा। और फिर वहां से ये पैसा चला गया बिनांस, जो इंटरनेशनल एक्सचेंज प्लेटफॉर्म है बिनांस, और बिनांस पे जाके वो मिक्सर टेक्नोलॉजी यूज करके उन्होंने पैसा भेज दिया। ये मैं आपको दिखा रहा हूँ, ये पैसा अल्टीमेटली जब मैंने देखा, ये बहुत ये देखिए, ये तो पूरा नेक्सस था कि कैसे चाइनीज जो है अपना इंडियन म्यूल्स जो है रिक्रूट किए थे, जिनके अकाउंट का यूज करके पैसा जा रहा था नोडल अकाउंट में, वहां से कन्वर्ट हो रहा था क्रिप्टो में। तो ये देखिए, ये जब हमने अल्टीमेटली ये किया तो पता चला कि ये देखिए, ये आपको चाइनीज 7 करोड़ रुपीज। हाँ ठीक है, नहीं आवाज नहीं आ रही। हाँ कोई कोई। तो ये देखिए 8 करोड़ 7 करोड़, ये देखिए चाइना में 75 करोड़ रुपीज, ये 52 करोड़ रुपीज फिलीपींस, 43 करोड़ रुपीज फिलीपींस। ये क्या हुआ? हमको बिनांस ने, देखिए ये बिनांस ने हमको डेटा दिया। हम I4C के जितेंद्र जी हैं जो बोलेंगे, जिन्होंने काफी इसमें मदद की। 90% कंट्रीब्यूशन I4C का था, जो इंडियन साइबर क्राइम कोऑर्डिनेशन सेंटर बना हुआ है एमएचए में। उन लोगों ने कनेक्ट करके हमारे जेब पे क्रिप्टो करेंसी एक्सचेंज से बात करके, बिनांस में बात करके ये सारा डेटा मिलाया, मंगवाया। और डेटा की जब हम लोगों ने एनालिसिस की तो आपको नंबर भी दिख रहा होगा, ये देखिए नंबर है, और अल्टीमेटली पैसा कहाँ जा रहा है ये भी मिला होगा। यहीं तक नहीं, ये आपके ये इसमें ये देखिए, ये जो पैसा लेते थे, ये वर्चुअल जो पेमेंट एड्रेस है वो शेयर करते थे, लाखों लोगों को शेयर करते थे, और वर्चुअल पेमेंट एड्रेस से फिर अल्टीमेटली हम लोग ट्रैक करके ये गए। अब हमारे सामने चैलेंज क्या है? हमारे सामने चैलेंज है कि हम लोगों ने ये तो कर लिया, यहां तक तो हम पहुंच गए, लेकिन अब इनकी केवाईसी क्या है? ये ईमेल एड्रेस है, और मोबाइल नंबर भी हम लोग कर लिए थे कि मोबाइल नंबर तक भी पहुंच गए थे। लेकिन उसके बाद हम लोगों के सामने काफी चैलेंज था कि मोबाइल नंबर फेक केवाईसी पे लिए गए थे, ईमेल कोई भी आदमी जनरेट कर सकता है। तो एक्चुअल बैकएंड पे कौन सा क्रिमिनल है चाइना में या फिलीपींस में या इंडिया में, वो आईपी एड्रेसेस हम लोगों को नहीं मिल पा रहे थे, या कैसे हम जल्दी, क्योंकि इसको हमको 3-4 मंथ्स लग गए थे। तो हम लोग ये चाहते हैं कि क्या इस तरह का कोई टूल है जिसकी मदद से हम तुरंत आईपी एड्रेस तक पहुंच जाए, डिवाइस की कोई आईडी आ जाए, आइडेंटिटी, जो पर्टिकुलर मोबाइल फोन हम यूज कर रहे हैं या पर्टिकुलर नेटवर्क हम यूज कर रहे हैं उसका कोई आइडेंटिफायर आ जाए, कोई हम डेस्कटॉप यूज कर रहे हैं उसका कोई मैक आईडी आ जाए। इस तरह का क्या टेक्निकल कोई आइडेंटिफायर हमको मिल सकता है जिससे पुलिस को या कारपोरेट सेक्टर को या बीएफएसआई सेक्टर में जो रिस्क कंसल्टिंग लोग हैं उनको मदद मिले? क्या इस तरह का कोई टूल है? और उसी उम्मीद से हमने संजीव जी से भी बात किया था। संजीव ने कहा कि हम लोग पास एक टूल है। तो मैंने सोचा पुलिस ऑफिसर्स, रिस्क कंसल्टेंट और प्लस जो कारपोरेट इन्वेस्टिगेटर है उनके लिए इस तरह का एक वेबिनार कराएं, ताकि उनको जानकारी हो कि फ्री में जो टूल्स हैं जैसे ब्लॉकचेन एक्सप्लोरर हुआ, उसके क्या लिमिटेशंस है, और जो कमर्शियल टूल, जो प्रोप्राइटरी टूल्स हैं उसके क्या फीचर्स हैं, हम कैसे यूज कर सकते हैं। थैंक यू।
Thank you so much, sir, for explaining this with a real life case study. And I would request you to stay back and, all the participants who have questions for Professor Triveni sir, please write it in the chat section, and we will take all these questions and answers at the end of the session. And with this, I would like to request Navin Gupta sir, who is CEO of Crystal Intelligence, to give us industry trend and explain us that what happens at Crystal Intelligence and how do they investigate. Sir, open to you.
Absolutely. So firstly, Shashank ji, Triveni ji, बहुत बहुत धन्यवाद. Like I really enjoyed your talk. आपने बहुत ही एकदम अच्छी तरीके से इसको ओपन किया. So मेरा नाम नवीन गुप्ता है. मैं CEO हूँ क्रिस्टल इंटेलिजेंस का. हम लोग यूरोपियन कंपनी है. हम लोग यहाँ पर बेस्ड हैं. 2016 से हम इस एरिया में काम कर रहे हैं. 2016 टू 2018 सिर्फ हम लोग ग्लोबली डेटा कलेक्शन कर रहे थे और उस पर एल्गोरिथम हम लोग रन करते हैं ताकि प्रोग्राम के थ्रू हम लोग डिटेक्शन कर सकें जहां पर गड़बड़ हो रही है. तो क्या होता है कि जैसे आप लोग क्राइम में देखते हैं एक पैटर्न होता है. सिमिलरली जब डेटाबेस जो होता है ब्लॉकचेन, उसमें भी बहुत सारे पैटर्न होते हैं. जैसे ड्रग्स के लिए पैटर्न होता है, गैम्बलिंग के लिए पैटर्न होता है, प्रोस्टिट्यूशन के लिए पैटर्न होता है. तो हम उन पैटर्न्स को रिकग्नाइज करके उसको पता कर सकते हैं कि भाई ये पैटर्न जो है ये मैच कर रहा है, तो लाइकलीहुड ऑफ दिस गड़बड़ हैपनिंग इज हाई. तो सिंस 2018 हमारे पास बहुत सारे गवर्नमेंट कस्टमर्स हैं. कस्टमर्स ऑल ओवर द वर्ल्ड essentially use our services. तो यूरोप में गवर्नमेंट्स हैं, साउथ एशिया में गवर्नमेंट्स हैं. when I say government is जो पुलिस अथॉरिटीज हैं जो हमारे टूल को या हमारी एडवाइस को यूज करती हैं ताकि जैसे त्रिवेणी सर ने कहा बहुत सारे जो क्राइम है हम उसको इन्वेस्टिगेट कर सकें. राइट. तो थोड़ा सा मैं आपको अभी जो मोस्ट कॉमन क्राइम जो हम लोग फेस कर रहे हैं उसके बारे में मैं आपको थोड़ा सा बताना चाहता हूं. तो क्या हुआ कि कंबोडिया, म्यांमार, लाओस में बहुत सारे गैम्बलिंग डेन्स आप जिसे कहते हैं बहुत सालों से हैं, 10-15 सालों से हैं, और बहुत सारे बॉर्डर एरियाज में हैं जो कि पोरस रीजन है. तो वहां पर लोग आकर अपना गैम्बलिंग कर सकते हैं. लेकिन कोविड में क्या हुआ कि इन सब लोगों की गैम्बलिंग की सारी दुकानें बंद हो गई क्योंकि 2 साल तक कोई भी लोग वहां पर आ नहीं सकते थे. सो दे स्टार्टेड टू मूव इनटू ऑनलाइन गैम्बलिंग and also in cyber crime, investment crime, and also like this love scams, what we call it, right? जैसे त्रिवेणी सर ने हमें दिखाया कि भाई बहुत सारे लड़कियों और लड़कों की फोटो जिससे आपको फेसबुक पे और कहीं पर वो आपको मिलेंगे और उसके बाद आपसे दोस्ती करने के बाद आपको कहेंगे कि भाई हमारे को थोड़ा सा पैसा भेजो, हमारी मदर की तबीयत खराब है या हमारे को किसी तरह की पैसे की जरूरत है. और जो विक्टिम है वो रेगुलरली उनको पैसा भेजना चालू कर देता है. बहुत बार विक्टिम जो है उनको क्रिप्टो करेंसी में पैसा भेजता है. तो क्रिप्टो करेंसी के आपने नाम सुने होंगे, बिटकॉइन, इथेरियम, यूएसडीसी, यूएसडीटी. तो उनको वो पूरा गाइड करेंगे कि आप जाके एक अकाउंट खोलो जैसे किसी ज़ेप्पे के साथ, बाइनेंस के साथ और किसी कंपनी के साथ, और उसमें पैसा जमा करा के आप क्रिप्टो करेंसी में कन्वर्ट करो और वो हमारे को भेजना चालू करो. और ये प्रॉब्लम इंडिया में नहीं है, ये प्रॉब्लम सब जगह है. जापान, कोरिया, ताइवान, हांगकांग, हर जगह पर ये प्रॉब्लम बहुत बड़ी बड़ी होती चली जा रही है. और जो इंडिविजुअल अमाउंट है विक्टिम का, जैसे त्रिवेणी सर मेंशन कर रहे थे, किसी ने $100 भेजा, किसी ने $500 भेजा, जिसके पास जितनी मतलब जितना उसको स्कैम कर सकते थे. बट द टोटल अमाउंट in this particular scam is very very high. So it is in the tune of billions and billions of dollars that is being scammed all over the world. पूरी दुनिया में हजारों करोड़ रुपए इस तरह स्कैम में इस्तेमाल हो रहा है. और मेनली 2 तरीके के स्कैम हो रहे हैं, इन्वेस्टमेंट स्कैम और ये लव स्कैम जिसको हम बोलते हैं. और इन्वेस्टमेंट स्कैम में हमने ये भी पाया, हमने पुलिस फोर्सेस के साथ और दूसरी कंट्रीज में हम जिनके साथ काम कर रहे हैं, कि लव स्कैम में फॉर एग्जांपल वो कैसे पकड़ते हैं अपने मोटे मुर्गे को, राइट? कि जिस बंदे के पास पैसे हैं, ये फॉर एग्जांपल बहुत बार ये जो लैंडलॉर्ड मकान खरीदने बेचने वाली वेबसाइट होती हैं या फिर जहां से हम मकान रेंट कर सकते हैं, वहां वाली वेबसाइट पे जाएंगे बाहर इंडिया में, और इनके पास कई सारे तरीके होंगे. तो मान लीजिए आप लैंडलॉर्ड हैं, मान लीजिए शशांक जी लैंडलॉर्ड हैं, तो उनके साथ बात करेंगे कि मैं टेनेंट हूं, मैं आपका मकान लेना चाहता हूं या खरीदना चाहता हूं, और उनसे उनकी सारी इंफॉर्मेशन ले लेंगे. तो उनको मालूम है कि भी किसी बंदे के पास मकान है तो उसके पास कुछ पैसा होगा और उसके पास कुछ हैसियत होगी, तभी उसने मकान खरीदा हुआ है. फिर उसके साथ दोस्ती बना के या उसको इन्वेस्टमेंट स्कैम में फंसा के उसके पैसे जो हैं क्रिप्टो करेंसी के थ्रू उन्होंने लेने चालू करे. तो हम लोग इसके अगेंस्ट बहुत जबरदस्त तरीके से मुहिम या फिर फाइट हर कंट्री के अंदर चल रही है, और ये कैट एंड माउस गेम है। तो हम तो टेक्नोलॉजी प्लेयर हैं, तो हम तो गवर्नमेंट के साथ काम करते हैं, तो हमारा ये है कि कैसे आप लोगों को सक्षम करें कि आप जो हैं ये टेक्नोलॉजी के थ्रू इन लोगों से आगे रहें। तो इसलिए हमारे फॉर एग्जांपल टीम इंडिया में भी है। संजीव मेरे जो कलीग हैं, मैं एम्स्टर्डम और दुबई में बेस्ड हूँ, संजीव जो हैं वो इंडिया में बेस्ड हैं। रजत हमारे टीम में काम करते हैं, वो हमारे लीड एनालिस्ट और इन्वेस्टिगेटर हैं इंडिया के लिए। तो हमारे को इंडिया की अच्छी तरह नॉलेज है, जिससे हम आप लोगों के साथ काम करके इसमें हम मदद कर सकते हैं। तो इसमें हमारा जो काम होता है वो पुलिस के साथ या साइबर क्राइम यूनिट के साथ बहुत हम क्लोजली मिलके काम करते हैं, क्योंकि इवेंचुअली क्या हम करना चाहते हैं, केस को क्रैक करना चाहते हैं, गलत लोगों को पकड़ना चाहते हैं, और जिनके पैसे इस स्कैम में चले गए हैं उनके पैसे हम वापस लाना चाहते हैं जिस हद तक हो सके। चाहे वो पैसे इस वक्त इंडिया में हैं तो ऑफ कोर्स इंडिया में हमारे लिए रोकना, आपके लिए रोकना आसान है। अगर बाहर चले गए हैं तो फिर हम और एजेंसीज की मदद के थ्रू उसको वापस लाने की हम कोशिश करते हैं। तो ये हमारा काम है। हम रेगुलरली इसके अंदर पुलिस और साइबर सिक्योरिटी के साथ काम कर रहे हैं, और बहुत बार काउंटर टेररिज्म यूनिट के साथ भी हम लोग काम करते हैं। तो मेरे को यही बोलना था शशांक जी। ऑफ कोर्स संजीव जो मेरे साथ काम कर रहे हैं वो कॉल पर हैं, और निकोलस जो हमारे साथ काम करते हैं दुबई में बेस्ड हैं। वो पहले ब्रिटिश इंटेलिजेंस के साथ काम करते थे, वो भी हमारे साथ कॉल पे हैं। तो हम आप लोगों को कुछ एग्जांपल्स अपने काम के बारे में बताना चाहेंगे। सो शशांक जी, बैक ओवर टू यू।
Thank you, Naveen sir, for setting the context. And I would request all the participants to stay back, because this is going to be very interesting, because Sanjeev ji and Nicholas are going to explain and show you that how investigation is done, and how potent, how potent is crystal intelligence and the kind of investigation they are doing. But before we go ahead, we have somebody incredible here. He is Jitendra Singh, sir, Assistant Commissioner of Police from I4C, and everybody knows that how much I4C is working towards combating cyber crime in India. I4C का जबरदस्त काम रहा है सारे स्टेट पुलिस के साथ और अदरवाइज भी साइबर क्राइम को टैकल करने के लिए. So Jitendra sir, over to you, please. Stage is all yours. Go ahead.
Thank you, Shashank ji, and thank you, Triveni sir, and good morning to all participants who joined this webinar. I've been given this an opportunity to speak on this panel, and specifically working on cryptocurrencies investigation related to the cyber crimes we have been reported in our online portal. I've been involved in training across the country. I have been to 14 to 16 states for the training of cryptocurrency. And today we'll highlight some major types of cybercrime and the evidences which come across the investigations. So, as everyone know that we have an online portal. Can everyone see my screen?
Yes, sir, it is visible.
This is online cyber portal which is being run by the I4C, wherein we receive online complaints related to cyber crimes, especially all type of crimes you can say, child abuse, women abuse, online financial frauds, cryptocurrency frauds, stock scams, social media frauds, all kind of category of frauds are reported in the country. And this is some figures which you can see. You can see that large number of FIRs and the complaints are continuously being filed, and we have been facing a lot of fraud. Around it has reached to 25,000 crores estimated loss in 3 years, and which is a big loss. And this year we are facing the most challengeable cyber containing a large amount of frauds in crores and crores. That is pig butchering scam and cryptocurrency investment scams, stock scam. This kind of 3 scams are being done from the South Asian countries and targeting not even India. They are targeting entire Southeast Asia, Australia, UK, and all the Middle East countries also. There's scam centers running in Cambodia and Myanmar, Philippines. They target our citizens through social media handles. They in task-based scams and other scams. They reach to the victims, because everyone knows that out of 140 crores population, around 40% people are on social media available easily to target. So this is the easiest place to search for victims on social media. They used to lure them on different pretext. अलग अलग तरह से उसको lure करते हैं, lure करके then they take it to some website, phishing website, and show them that the money has been reached over the night to multiple folds. 100 रुपए का 1000 रुपया हो गया है. इस तरह से they used to lure the people, and continuously on the different pretext they used to invest to withdraw the previous amounts, which has been seen. You can see the graph in the country where the states are being targeted most. You can see here Telangana, Maharashtra, Karnataka, Kerala, Tamil Nadu. These are the places where the most complaints are being received from related to cryptocurrency and investment scams. These are some laundering done by the cyber criminals in the country to exit crime proceeds from the financial systems. ATM withdrawals, national and international, both are being done. We have noticed some patterns of international withdrawals in Dubai, Singapore, Hong Kong, Kazakhstan. Cryptocurrency, P2P, and hosting in exchanges. This is P2P trade is very much popular in the country. A lot of traders are working from Kerala, Rajasthan, Karnataka, who are directly available online in selling this cryptocurrencies. They bought it from different regions and sell it to this cyber criminals in high. This is the biggest nuisance which has been noticed in the country, that lot of traders who are involved in this exiting route, they are converting crime proceeds into the cryptocurrency. The cryptocurrency is taken away by this scamsters. And after the correct cryptocurrency is transferred on P2P trades, then the consideration which is being received in their account is a crime proceed, which is later freezed by the law enforcement agency. So the traders are in target. Once they lose the cryptocurrency, their accounts are freezed. And the money which is received by them against the consideration of sale is part of legal consequences. Conversion in check withdrawals, high value withdrawals has been noticed from the Kerala and Rajasthan area. Conversion into gold, diamond, and jewelry has also been one mode of operation. Payment of utility services like electricity bill, waters, extra. These are some we have noticed from crime proceed they use kind of utility services bills. Conversion to CBDC in E-Rupee has also been noticed that these people are, because there is a golden hour principle wherein in our call 1930 we used to stop the money. All the banks are sitting with us. We immediately track down the crime proceeds and follow the trade. To make anonymize the crime proceeds, they have started converting into CBDC now, because CBDC anonymous for our tracking. So far, we are not able to reach the right place when it is converted to CBDC. We are working on that. And this is the easiest place for them to route it to CBDC and then withdraw from the ATMs or use for a repurpose. They can pay. They are also paying commissions out of that. The agents which has been hired by these Southeastern Asian scamsters. Resources, they used to deploy their resources in the country. Agents they use fake SIM cards are being smuggled in large number. 40,000 SIM cards recovered by Kerala yesterday, day before yesterday, and a lot of smuggling of SIM has been noticed, and more than 1 lakh have been found attached to international region of Cambodia and Philippines and Myanmar. Mule accounts has become a trade in the country. There are a lot of traders across the nation who are selling mule accounts on social media handles. You can find lot of people, lot of channels and a lot of profiles running on Telegram and WhatsApp who used to sell mule accounts, SIM card frequently. Web domain registration of phishing websites are required for investment scams and demat scams are being built continuously, and they are being downloaded into the victims' mobile phones through social media handles. They used to share the links, and from there, third party, they used to download there. Fintech, some fintech companies are also involved in this kind because they provide the UPI handles to run API across the mule accounts. I will show you some of the links of that. Ads on social media platforms, Google, Meta, and YouTube, they are spending a lot of money on this after the crime proceeds. Some of the cryptocurrency crimes which we have noticed in the as per this we have available: investment scam, task-based frauds, P2P platforms, onboarding of agents. Now Binance, OKX, and some platforms has been stopped, but the people are using VPNs and other methods to approach this kind of platforms. And some other platforms are also available. Now people have started doing P2P trades on their own risk on social media handles. Ponzi schemes, as you all aware, ransomware. Everyone knows that a lot of ransomware attacks are there. Of emails are being received from different domains. You have seen from last 15 days, schools and hospitals are being targeted. Phishing investment websites, malwares, call center frauds. These are the some cryptocurrency related frauds wherein cryptocurrency has been found involved in the means of transfer of crime proceeds. Some modus operandi which we have segregated on the basis of the origin. You can say international origin, investment, Telegram, task-based scams are in countries. Illegal loan apps, Chinese is very frequently behind this. Illegal gaming apps running from Dubai, maximum in Dubai. Matrimonial scam by Nigerians is being done from the country itself and from Nigeria also. Ransomware is outside. Android mobile malware, social media account takeovers, APS frauds, extortion. These are from the local origin within the country, like hotspot, running from Delhi, running from UP, running from Jharkhand, running from Bihar and Mewar. Some of the cryptocurrency crimes which you have noticed that money laundering is done through API. This kind of APIs is found running on fake websites. What they do, they create a fake website or fake application for the payment gateway. They use APIs in the name of MoonPay, UPI cashier. You can see this very well, nicely. You can see the API has been built. API is embedded into, on the right side of, you can see native transfers. This kind of APIs are built on the Pay, Google Pay, and UPI Pay on the phishing websites, and the victims are paying on this payment gateways to bypass the Indian channels now. Other kind of, you can see here APIs, FPay, this has some SunPay, DPay, DIPay, LPay. These are the foreign gateways when they used to PPI type of prepaid payment instruments kind of mechanism is used. Upload the money through credit cards and debit cards and to this kind of wallets, and that is used for the purpose of the cryptocurrency. You can see another API, because there is no channel wherein you can take money out of the country, so they are bound to use the UPI channels and mule accounts to take out of it. Another, we have noticed that some fake tokens are being used by the fraudster. You can see here the Palmai token, Palm AI. Which is a coin markets app. You can see here, it is an Ethereum contract is being run, but found the transactions tracked on it. It is zero transactions. You can see there is no transaction. And if you find out on the open sources to trace out this kind of addresses which has been given by the victim, this is suspect address where he had transferred But you can see here there is no transfer and there is not a valid address. A similar way in WhatsApp and different chat messages, we can see the Bitfinex onlinetrades.com and bitfinextrade.xyz.com. These are the domains which are phishing domains which are being used for purposes of cryptocurrency. You can see here fintech companies wherein UPI is being used to transfer the money. It does not actually deal into cryptocurrency, but they are cheating the people in the guise of cryptocurrency. They used to develop some kind of websites. On this website, they used to show the graphs, different kind of coin market graphs like this, going up and down. They create individual accounts for a person. When see his money has been double-fold over the night, or it has reached to a higher level, he satisfies himself and put more and more money into that. But when he asks for the withdrawal, they ask him to put more money. Then this way it reaches to crores and crores. You can see here this kind of some applications are also built, leadcoin.com, wherein some payment gateway is being created, phishing apps, this fintech apps with dual accounts. Some fintech companies are offering the virtual accounts wherein you can transfer the money through P2P trades into each other, take this money through credit card, debit card from out of the country. Some of the incident which we have investigated in ICOC, some terror financing links found in some cases of Telangana, which we have transferred the investigation to NIA. And one pig witchering scam Ponzi scheme has been reported in Uttarakhand, wherein 500 crore rupees has been cheated from the different part of the country. Some traces has been found. So Al Hamas, these wallets were notified by Israel agency, and we tracked down these wallets and reported NIA. Thus, another leads of cryptocurrency into call center frauds is frequently seen. Call centers are running across the country and targeting US, UK, and Australian citizens and European citizens, and money is transferred from there through cryptocurrency or Hawala channels. We detained 8 call centers in Assam recently, and last month we have found some call centers running in Jharkhand, which were targeting Australian and UK. Some Chinese investment scam, you can see cryptocurrency investment frauds this is investigation done in Jharkhand case, wherein we the Chinese people behind the KYC, which we have taken out from the Binance. You can see the other reports in one Kerala police. You can see all the people from China used to log into the P2P trades and taking the crime proceeds out of the country. Investment part-time scam, this is busted in UP during Triveni Singh's time, and it's a 3,000 crore investment scam. And all the money has been taken out of the country through cryptocurrency on P2P trades. Challenges of investigation, anonymity of wallets. You can see there are a lot of availability of non-hosting wallets like Ledger, Trezor, MetaMask available in the market, wherein you can open web wallets and hardware wallets, which does not require any KYC. Because DeFi wallets is there, wherein it is not easy to track this kind of wallets. No KYC is adopted. Private wallets are also there when people used to use. No standard transaction for formats. VPN access is noticed while doing this kind of frauds and scams. Jurisdiction is a bit challengeable for cryptocurrency investigations. Illegal clusters are being found, mixtures and clusters, and very much swapping. We can see bridges. We can see these are some kind of patterns which we have noticed in the cryptocurrency investigations in our different investigations in ICOC. Exchanges at foreign destinations is a big challenge for us because we are not able to freeze the assets. We cannot transfer the assets from that to our country back. It's a big challenge for us. Lot of efforts is required. Legal battle is required in that. Lot of humility and allows are required. We are to register two exchanges now. What is KuCoin and another is Binance. We are in process of FIU is in process of registering both these exchanges. We can get the data then easily from that. If anyone is having any login details related to Codex platforms, kindly contact me on my email or you can message me. I will help you out to create an account in the Codex. That through that you can approach Binance and 140 different agencies available on Codex. There's no legal status country, no standards is there. There is no law related to cryptocurrency. Neither it is a commodity, nor it is a product, and it has not been declared as a currency also. So it is in a gray area here. So multiple exchanges. Whilst doing seizures and other things, it is a complicated issue. People are not aware of the transfers and the transactions very much, and how to deal with the procedures. I foresee in the process of developing a standard operating procedure related to this. We issue a standing operating procedure related to seizures and disposal of and production of this evidences related to cryptocurrency in the courts also. No single platform to examine the currency. If there are more than 25 cryptocurrencies in the world, but it's difficult to identify the tracks. But some websites are there. CoinMarketCap tabs is there, and some of the other websites are also available where you can find some traces related to those addresses also. Frequent hacking is possible. Different malwares are used to track down the wallets, and they used to track the people who are interacting on web wallets. Cryptocurrency frauds from foreign region we have noticed, mostly from Hong Kong and North Korean regions. Complex investigation is it is a complex investigation because a lot of hops is there in between the investigation from the victim to the exchange. There is the only way to find out the trails of the crime proceeds, which is after reaching to a certain point where it reaches to exchange. And in between exchange and the victim, there are multiple hops. We have personally investigated more than 50 hops wherein the exchange has been found. It is so complex investigation, you need proper patience to investigate the cases. Decentralized exchanges is another problem for us because no KYC and no other procedures are followed, and they are not following the PMLA guidelines, even not approaching to reporting to our summons and legal notices. Another challenge that is the people who are buying this hardware wallets is another challenge because we are not sure which hardware is good and which is bad, and which is having malware. There's no standard to check where the or a scan can be done related to any hardware that it does not contain any malware or it will not steal us this private key. This we have to do a lot. Robust legal framework is required. Regulation of foreign currency exchanges is to cryptocurrency tools is not much available in the country. Proper KYC procedures is not followed. Zero tolerance for anonymous wallet because MetaMask and this kind of wallet which do not have any kind of KYC should not be allowed in the ecosystem. Addressing challenges with mixtures, bridges, and other kind of patterns which has been noticed to launder the proceeds. Authenticity, admissibility of evidence is a big challenge. Who will prove? Because blockchain has been non-defined under any law so far. So, which evidence will be? Who will justify the evidences? And whether there's a primary evidence or secondary evidence has to be considered because the case has not been started and been under trial. Let's see how the law progress. Advocate for international cooperation and coordination in addressing judicial challenges in cryptocurrency cases because we have facing a lot of challenges related to serving of someone's getting data from there, freezing of assets and transferring the assets from the foreign country. Establish protocols for collaboration between Indian exchange and law enforcement to combat fraud actively. That is being after G20. This is being in progress. Notify Indian exchange for storing the seized VD and retaining them securely after security because we have that some government intervention is required in this. because when we see some assets, we cannot, we don't have any notified exchange or to liquidate from where we can do it, or where we can store our seized assets. Capacity building for launch management is a big challenge. More than 2,000 people I have trained personally, reaching to the states, but still it was a big task for me. Thank you very much. This is from my side. I hand over the dais back to Triveni Singh and Shashank. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, sir. And it was very insightful session. And I would request all the participants, if you found this session interesting, just send a reaction of thumbs up in the chat or wherever, because I think it was very good, very insightful for everybody. And big congratulations to I4C, because of the kind of work your team and the entire department is doing. Big round of applause to them.
Thank you,
Sir,
participants. If any questions you have, we can take it out, or we can wait for the session. Because
I would request you to stay back for the question answer, but there is just one clarification somebody asked. I think Advocate Mahendra asked, what is the procedure to unfreeze a bank account frozen by the 1930 mechanism?
See, first of all, you approach your cybercrime police station which is nearby. You ask them in how many cases the account is being landmarked, because it has been noticed that single bank account has been landmarked by different states. So in that case, a single petition won't suffice. You cannot approach each and every defreezing of account. It's better to approach a court and have a proper application filed there and get an orders from the court. Court will send notice to the concerned states. The states will report their investigation status, and then the order will be passed down. Then it can be unfreezed. Because we are in the process of framing a standard operating procedure related to CF Shape RS 1930. It will take another 1 month to circulate it. We have already circulated it to banks and other and the draft of it. It is in discussion process in various writ petitions are by the honorable courts. So soon there will be a procedure related to unfreezing of accounts.
Thank you so much for this. I know, sir, there are a lot of questions. Would request you to stay back so that we can have other panelists as well. And you can see a lot of thumbs up and a lot of reactions coming up after your session. So thank you so much for that. And with this, we will move to our next panelist, who is Sanjeev Shahi, sir. He is Vice President with Crystal Intelligence. And as Jitendra sir said, there are very limited tools for crypto investigation. Probably Sanjeev ji can tell us more about how and what Crystal is doing in terms of crypto investigation. What do you say?
Shashank, there is not, tools are available in the market, but every tool is not conclusive tool.
Right, sir.
Every tool is giving a different result, and it is difficult for the law enforcement agency to believe that which result should be followed.
Right.
And if my investigation is not conclusive and beyond doubt, reasonable doubt, then it is not provable in the court of law. So it is difficult for me to identify the standards of investigation and standard principles to be followed by the each tool. That is another challenge for us.
Right. Thank you for so much for this. And sir, you know, there are a lot of questions around how to do evidence gathering and similar kind of questions, which is why I would request you to stay back for the question and answer round. Thank you so much for this. And Sanjeev sir, over to you.
Thank you very much, Shashank. I hope I'm audible.
Yes, sir.
So thanks a lot. And to begin with, very good morning to all the participants, rather good afternoon now. It's 12:07. So to start with, I'll take this opportunity to thank you all for investing your time with us today. We are privileged and honored in your presence in this gathering. So I'm not going to take too much of time. I'm being conscious of the time as well. But I can assure you with the great lineup of the speakers, right from Professor Singh, Navin, and Mr. Jitendra Singh, and followed by Nicholas Smart, who is going to do live demonstration of the platform and how the investigations are done. I'm sure this time will be worth investing. Many of you would be knowing from my previous avatar, I have worked with many other organizations. However, I have been in investigations and forensic domain for quite some time. And I would not like to get into technical discussions of solutions and technology, because Nicholas is going to cover it for good 40-45 minutes, whatever time we are left with, in detail how technology helps. However, I would like to touch base upon a couple of things very quickly. One is, what are the challenges we are facing? And I'll agree with Mr. Singh, Mr. Jitendra Singh just mentioned that tools are there and they give different kind of output. They are not very sure of how correct that output is and whether it can be presented as an evidence to the court, which is a very, very important matter. आपने investigation किया, किसी को उसमें पकड़ा भी, and finally you are not able to prove in the court कि किस basis पे आपने किया, जो evidence है वो court में stand करता है कि नहीं करता है. This becomes very important factor, and we will definitely discuss about it in later part when Nicholas is going to show the tool, because attributions of wallet are where you get the idea of which entity is behind the wallet, and how correct that attribution is also very, very important. And that's what Crystal is known for. Whatever output we give evidences also that where this data is coming from. And very soon you will have this in your tool itself, where you with a click of button you can see कि ये attribution कहाँ से आया है, evidence क्या है इसके पीछे, and you can present that in courts as well. But that apart, I wanted to touch base very quickly about the challenges. All the speakers so far has spoken. Professor Singh has been ex-IPS officer. He has led it from front, and he has seen the things from very close quarters. Mr. Jitendra Singh is there in I4C, seeing day in and day out what kind of cases are coming and what kind of challenges are being faced. He has enumerated everything in his presentation. I can't be more exhaustive than him. He is much more experienced, and not only experienced, but he is currently in thicks and thins of it. So he has enumerated many things. But at the very high level, if you see, crypto usage in crime is very rampant today. आप किसी भी तरह का crime देखिए, be it ransomware, terror finance, drugs, and all these are very serious matter for national security. Our Home Minister, Mr. Amit Shah, has spoken many times. Prime Minister has spoken. So they are also very sensitive about these criminal activities. जहाँ पे crypto is very rampant, बहुत rampantly used हो रहा है. So national security itself is of concern when these activities are happening. And of course, the common people like you and me are also getting impacted. They are getting victim by so many things we have just seen. Professor Singh had shown the case study where 4,200 crores rupees were kind of scammed from the common people who were investing 5,000, 10,000, 20,000 kind of amount. But this is very, very important because people are not aware and they are getting into it. So one is challenges related to national concern. Second is the common people as well. So while we talked about technology and other things, it is also very important that we acknowledge and appreciate your efforts in pursuit of deterring these criminal activities, are catching hold of these criminals who are doing this. So thank you very much for making us safe. On the second side, I just wanted to touch base upon how crystal intelligence can support you in your pursuit of deterring the cybercrime, and especially related to criminal activities where crypto is involved, right? So, I mean, all of us know, and all the officers in the call would agree that these criminals are also using technology, very sophisticated technology. Sometimes they are ahead us in using the technology. So unless we use a better technology, I mean, it's very difficult for us to beat them or catch them or deter or prevent those criminal activities. That's where it is important for us to choose and leverage the technology at max. And Crystal Intelligence has this platform called Crystal Expert, which is being used by many law enforcement agencies across the globe to solve and crack and prevent these criminal activities where crypto is involved. So it is a wonderful tool. It can investigate. Nicholas Smart is going to show you how exactly it works. And if you have any questions, you can ask for. Another important thing I just wanted to mention, as Navin mentioned, that India is very focused country for us. It is very focused. I'm not talking about individuals, Sanjeev or Navin, but it is for the organization Crystal Intelligence. And hence Crystal is investing a lot in India. We have feet on ground. Navin himself is from India, so you can see the that connect also. But I'm here based out of Delhi, a phone call away. My contact details are there in chat. You can always reach out to us. We have local investigator who is from India. So we are very much focused on the local data, local cases, local investigations, things, geo-specific trends and activities. So we would love to extend our maximum possible support to you. Please feel free to reach out to us, and we'll be happy to work with you. So with this, I'll conclude, and I'll wait for any question and answer questions you might have to answer post the next session. We do have question answer session, so you can post your queries here, and we will address all of them together. Thank you very much. Thanks. Back to you, Shashank.
Thank you so much.
My
Sanjeev.
contact details are there in the chat. Whosoever wants to reach out, feel free. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Sanjeev ji, and we would request you to stay back for the question and answer round. And with this, we have very exciting session coming up by Nicholas Smart. He is Director of Intelligence at Crystal. Now he's going to demonstrate the platform, give us some case studies, and show you the exact how investigation is done. So over to you, Nicholas.
Thanks, Shashank. Let me just share my screen a second.
Sure, go ahead.
Okay, hopefully you can see my presentation now.
Yes,
so I'll break this down into a couple of sessions. We'll go through some background stuff. I think I'd like to talk a bit about some of the principles of investigation so we understand we're all on the same page and how they can work. And then I'll go through a couple of case studies showing you how you can use our tool to do that. So going through then, so who at Crystal, we're as a company, as Sanjeev and Navin have explained to you, we have lots of data, we cover a lot of blockchains, we cover a lot of tokens, we have a lot of entities. We have built this from scratch for a very long period of time, and we're very proud of the work that we put into this tool. And one of the key things that we think sets us aside from other people is we have a very high focus on evidence. And I think it's something I've heard a number of the other panelists speak about today, and even in your comments is, okay, well, it's great, I've built a case with a blockchain tracing tool, but how can I take that to court now? How can I get a conviction against the person who's done this thing? And from our side, we've worked very hard to make sure we have evidence to support things that we're saying. In terms of the scope of the presentation then, first of all, we'll go through investigating crypto assets. And I'd like to, for those of you who haven't done a crypto asset investigation before, I'd just like to set up a few things like what can we do And actually, what can't we do? Because there are some limitations in terms of not just the technology, but in terms of what you can get from an investigation. I'll look at an investigative technique called backtracing, which I think is quite an important one and may help you if you're already tracing cryptocurrencies now. And then I'll look at for some common mistakes that people make when they do tracing, because I think that's also something we don't talk about so much, which is like where things go wrong for us as a group. So just see if that works. You can still see my screen. Can you still see my presentation?
Yes, yes.
Okay, perfect. I don't want to lose it. Okay, so the first goals then, we can confirm or deny an activity. So we can see if there's a relationship between two people, as in, did Alice get money from Harriet the hacker? Did she receive money from someone else? We can identify the source of funds. We can identify the destination of funds, or the main destination of funds. We can use it to infer some sort of financial relationship between two people, such as, you know, donating to a terrorism financing charity donation or something like that. We can also use it to help resolve disputes for things like market abuse crimes. And hitherto now, we talk a lot about fraud, right? We talk about fraud such as the things that the other panelists had spoken earlier today. And there are lots of those cases out there, but what about fraud that occurs on an exchange, like where they artificially inflate the value of a token, or maybe someone founded a project and then they've run off with the money, rug pulls. So these are the kind of things that we can achieve as tasks with crypto asset investigation tool. However, on the other side, there are some things that we can't actually do, and particularly things we can't do are things like understanding, the motivation behind something. A few key terms that I'd like to cover off, though, before we go through the presentation. The first one is clustering, and you may hear this a lot. Clustering basically refers to the process of associating a group of addresses, a group of cryptocurrency addresses together to suggest that they belong to the same private key or person, right? So we have a lot of addresses on Ethereum or Tron or whatever else, and we believe they all belong to Binance, an exchange, let's say. Clustering is a process of linking those all together, and that can either be done through certain heuristics, such as unspent transaction outputs, common spending, other things like that. But that's very much like the magic which blockchain analytics tools work hard to protect and to build. The second part is attribution, and that's going from the stage of, okay, all these addresses belong together. Who do they belong to? Like a real world association or a real world entity. And this is what my team does every single day. We spend many, many, many hours of time trying to work out, who does this address belong to? Not down to like an individual level. Like we can't go down to the point where we say, okay, oh, this address belongs to, Nick Smart or, Sanjeev. It doesn't go into that level. We sort of keep it more high level, which is, okay, this belongs to this service provider. And in very much many cases, people look at like big exchanges. Indeed, in all of the cases I've heard today, many of them end up at big exchanges like Huobi or Binance or Coinbase or Kraken or whoever else. What we're seeing as an emerging trend is a growing use of peer-to-peer service providers. So your traditional financial systems, your Hawala-Dars, those sort of guys are now looking at crypto as a way of moving money around more cheaply, because also it's an easy way for them to do that. Those guys aren't easy to find. They don't have accounts on Binance or Coinbase that you're going to find quickly. That's going to take you time to get there. And again, for our side, we spend our money and our time looking for those low-level services because they're often the ones that have the highest return on investment. The final thing that a key tool will have is visualization features. And I think many of you will have come across this before. This just makes it easier for a user to visualize or identify the relationship between two addresses. And every platform has a different way of doing this, but it needs to be clear and easy for the end user, and not just for, the analysts. And again, I'll speak as a professional analyst myself. The number of times I would have an I2 analyst notebook chart, which only I would be able to understand. And I would give it to my boss and say, right, this is the target we need to get a warrant on or do whatever else. He would look at me and say, there's no way anyone's going to approve that. You need to make it look nice. So the visualization customer isn't just the analyst's notes. It also needs to look presentable to, you know, a judge or a prosecutor or someone to build a case out of this. And from our side, that's what we think is important too. So we work hard on clustering, we work very, very hard on attribution, but we also balance that with good visualization, which makes it easy for people to understand. Just to talk about attribution quickly, every address that we have in Crystal has some form of attribution behind it. And here you can see two sources. In one case, you can see CoinBlinker, which is a Russian language platform, which we found on a peer-to-peer marketplace aggregating site called BestChange. We take a screenshot of the deposit address for that service, and we keep that in our database. When you're doing a case, you see some attribution. Let's say you have 2 or 3 tools and there's a conflict. You can ask us, and we will tell you where we got our attribution from. We think this is a really big thing for cases. When people are going into court and they need to prove, where did that address come from? How did you know that address belonged to Binance? How did you know that address belonged to Coinbase or the scammer or whoever else? We have attribution. We have a screenshotted proof of it. And it could be a web page like that, or it could be someone showing a YouTube tutorial on how to, you know, sign up to their services. And there are many, many of those examples out there. There's another dynamic to this as well. Criminals know how our tools work, right? They try to buy them. They can see what we know about their addresses. They're well aware when, you know, these things exist. We have seen instances now where criminals have planted deliberate false information about addresses that we know are theirs on the internet. Now, how does that help us having attribution? At least I can understand where the line may have started. And that gives me new points, right? So let's say the YouTube video you can see on the right panel, let's say that's discovered to be actually someone else's address. We've now got, you know, some OSINT links to go through. We've got the name of the YouTube channel. Maybe we can follow that up and we can see what's going on. So that's just looking at it on a tool perspective. I want to talk a bit more about our targets, our criminals. How do we deal with them? And one of the things that people see is a lot in these scams is if I steal loads of money, and we know, for example, the North Korean government have stolen a lot of money in lots of hacks, how am I going to clean it? And one of the things that I find a lot in analysis is, well, they've stolen $150 million, and okay, now what? The question is, what do you do, right? And that can extend beyond just theft. It can be I've defrauded billions of dollars of cryptocurrency. It could be I've raised lots of money for my terrorism organization in cryptocurrency. How am I going to turn it into something I can use? Like, how can I take the money I stole in a hack by North Korea and turn it into a space program? Like, this is important. And what we come up with is this idea of a laundering plan. So where you look at cryptocurrency investigations that may be slightly different to fiat ones, fiat you have a lot more time. And as some of the delegates of this talk are saying, you're like, well, okay, things move really fast, like, you know, you can't hang around. They're right. And with crypto, you have a lot less time than you do with fiat currency, like a lot less time, because not only can you move faster, but we can move faster. We can identify the deposits to exchanges. We can identify where the funds have gone to. Everyone can look at that. And there's a whole network of people who do. So if I'm going to steal this kind of money or I'm going to scam that sort of money, I need to have a plan in advance of what I'm going to do. And this plan sort of is constituted of like 4 sort of key areas that we look at. The first one is like conversion. So how am I going to take the cryptocurrency I have and convert it into some sort of useful thing for me? Like, can I go and buy property with it? Can I turn it into like hard currency or gold or diamonds or whatever else I want? So I need to think about how easy it is to convert the cryptocurrency that I'm going to end up with. Like, how am I going to convert it? Another thing they'll consider as well is the operational security. Can I trust the people in my organization not to steal from me? Can I also be observed by law enforcement? What are their capabilities like? What skills do they have? What I'll say anecdotally is when you look at terrorist organizations in, for example, you know, perhaps throughout like Syria or the Middle East, generally speaking, they will raise currency in Bitcoin or USDT on Tron or Ethereum network. That's not because they're particularly great things to raise money on, but they're very easy to convert, right? However, if you look in the US, for example, they're domestic extremists, they're white supremacist groups and other things like that. Many of them will raise funds almost exclusively in Monero because they believe strongly that the law enforcement can't trace where their money has come from or where it's going to. So they do very much calibrate themselves based on you too. So what do they know about you and your capabilities? Okay, they see you've bought this tool. Okay, how good are you with them? You've got this many cases you've solved. Okay, we need to up our game a little bit. The other two things to consider is the technical skill level of the group. A lot of them might outsource some of the technology related tasks to other groups, but they won't actually know how to launder the money themselves. And then the final thing to look at is price stability. Often people say, okay, well, Monero, which is a privacy-focused cryptocurrency, which is nigh on untraceable, why doesn't everyone just run to Monero straight away? And the reality is its volatility is very, very high. And that's not good for me. Like if I'm a criminal, I don't want to have stolen $150 million 1 minute and then suddenly end up with 100 million the next. Now, again, I might be happy still with $100 million myself, but these guys, they don't want to lose money as a cost to their plan. So we as investigators need to make some assumptions, and we need to think a few things about our target or who they might be. And some of the questions you might want to ask yourselves are, will they try and reduce fees as much as possible using a very direct route? So if I've stolen a small amount of money, I have to pay fees for every transaction I make. A good way of obfuscating my funds is to use lots of transactions to make it more difficult to see where the money's come from. If I do that lots of times, so I'm going to lose out overall. So again, how much money am I willing to lose in that to stay hidden? And then also, is privacy important enough? If I don't care, if I don't feel like anyone's going to attack me or get on top of me, I don't need to bother with privacy. If I'm a terrorist organization sat in, some sort of like ungoverned space in, South Asia or something, I'm not going to bother too much because who's going to come and get me? Like no one's going to come and get me. I can get the currency in a format I want. There's no need to bother. But if I'm a neo-Nazi group in the United States, I'm very worried about the FBI knocking my doors down because they do have a lot more control. So again, is privacy important enough to change my plans? Obviously, the internal skills of the group, and they do vary rapidly. Often you've seen opportunists who've stolen lots of money and then have no idea what to do with it. And again, that question you should really ask yourselves, and I'm sure we do in many other types of cases, but what skills do they think you have? How talented do they think your investigators are or your team is? And that's a really big one, because if they underestimate you, that's huge opportunities for us, right? To sort of get in there and make a real result for our victims or to solve a case. But if they do appreciate how good you are, again, you need to be on the top of your game too. I show this slide a lot, and it probably needs a little bit of updating, but looking at those sort of 4 areas, the idea, we can look at some like major tokens and see, okay, what decision process we're going to go in. And just looking at one, for example, let's look at Bitcoin. So on the conversion side, there's lots of opportunity to convert it. It's got a really big market capacity. So if I've got lots of it, someone's going to buy it from me. So it's good for conversion. However, it's more volatile and it's easy to be traced, although you can make it more private using other services, such as mixers or coin joins or whatever else. But there are potentially ways around that if it's done very badly. Another big one is you can't freeze it or you can't block it. And it doesn't require a lot of skill really to use. There's lots of options to do that. Looking at the other end of the spectrum, stable coins, and I'm sure many of you see stable coins used a lot in investigations. There are many opportunities to convert stable coins. Lots of people who accept USDT or USDC. There's lots of that out there, and it has a denominated value, right? It has $1. Everyone agrees it's $1. We're all going to transact it that way, and we see a lot of these low-level peer-to-peer services, using stable coins very much as they would regular dollars. It has the same issues though as Bitcoin to a certain extent because it's very easy to trace. Again, you can make it more private. And a very key point for centrally issued stable coins, so for USDT and USDC, if they receive a lawful request, they may block it by contract, as in the money can actually be frozen directly. Now, this is a dual-edged sword, right? You end up with this loss gain thing. We can block lots of USDT, but then maybe the criminals will move to somewhere that we can't have an interruption in. So you really need to use that as kind of the death blow for like a really big wallet. When you found lots and lots of tether in one place, it's being used by someone bad, that's when you press that button and you seize it. Again, we'll look at that in a minute. Just as three things that I think we see a lot of in our investigations at the moment. The three biggest issues we find are uncooperative exchanges. I shan't name them, but there are some exchanges who don't cooperate with requests. And we have had feedback from our law enforcement clients that they don't respond to them either, or they take a very, very long time. Instant swap services are incredibly prolific these days. These differ to normal exchanges in that many of the time, rather than bother with a mixer, they'll just go to an instant swap service where the money will be converted immediately from whatever the start was, probably to Monero, and then that's them off, right? We can't trace any further, and we see them increasingly. And the final part is cross-chain bridges. I would say mixing services and privacy coins are still very significant, but in the current landscape, instant swap services are far more useful for them. And this is something that we're trying to figure out ourselves. Okay, I'll run forward a little bit more. And the reason I want to talk about backtracing is when I show you the case demonstrations, it'll be very obvious why I've shown this. So I don't want to sort of like, drop you in at the deep end and not know what I'm doing. So what is backtracing? So here's a typical investigation schematic, right? We have some money that was stolen. It's deposited to an exchange deposit address, and then that money gets moved on to the exchange. And right, that's the case over, isn't it? But there's a lot more useful information we can learn about Alice than this chart actually shows. So we've traced forward from the stolen funds. Oh, it's gone to Alice. Now it's gone to the exchange. What we can actually do is we can look backwards and see where else money has come from that relates to Alice. And this might give us some new leads, in particular, things like other self-custodial wallets, things that we can put a flag on, we can alert exchanges to, we can publish them out there and say, okay, look, Alice has stolen some money, it's been sent to this exchange, we can see that it's involved with these other criminal activities, which might help for other investigations. But also at the same time, it might give us the opportunity to identify other related services to Alice and broaden the scope of our inquiry. So we're not just going to look at tracing forwards, but when it gets deposited to a service provider, that address is generally fixed. We can then look backwards, right? And we can see, okay, where else did money come from? Who else are these guys involved in? And that can be really good because particularly for fraud cases, it's rarely ever one site. It's usually 10, 20, 30, 40, 100 sites. And they may all focus down to one deposit address. You might be able to solve a whole load of other cases just by looking for that common touch point, that common deposit address. Okay, I do want to talk about some common tracing mistakes, and I'm sorry to say it happens more frequently. Number one, I think this is the cardinal sin, which is tracing through exchanges. And I see this more often than not. You can see on the graphic here, we have 3 deposit addresses, like the backtracing we talked about, and they get pulled into the exchange's hot wallets. So people make deposits, a bit like you do at a bank. You put your banknote into the exchange. You then, the note gets taken by the bank. When I withdraw another £10 note or whatever the note might be, I'm going to get a different banknote back. The exchange chain tracks my balance, and on the exchange sends me money. Why this is such a big problem is when this exchange service is not identified. Let's say we don't know it's actually an exchange, but it's a super active wallet or something like that. If you try to trace through it, you're not actually getting a positive result. What you're actually getting is fake, because we know that money got deposited here, but remember the exchange has its internal records updated, and then they withdraw from a completely different cryptocurrency, right? So they have different buckets to give you money from. Tracing through exchange services is something where we see a lot of problems, and particularly where the exchange hasn't been identified. I'll throw another one in there. Like, as a team, we work really hard to try and collect all of the exchange services we possibly can, but it's a never-ending, relentless task. And as much as I'd like to say we have got everybody, I know my job is never done. There are going to be new exchanges. There are going to be exchanges in places that we've never even looked at before, and we're going to have to try and find them. Until we discover them, we don't know their services. You might try tracing through them. So it's really important during investigations, when you see a very active cluster or active address, to say, okay, is this an exchange service? Am I getting a correct tracing through? The second thing I want to talk about then is incorrect attribution. What you might find, again, particularly with peer-to-peer exchanges, the exchange might be identified as an exchange itself, but in reality, it's a nested service on a much larger exchange. So you might get a wallet address and say, oh, this belongs to, you know, Nick Smart OTC Desk Dubai, but actually, in fact, it's just my own deposit address on Binance that I'm using and running a front business for. So again, we sometimes see these incorrect attributions. You'll believe an address belongs to one service, but in actual fact, it's part of a much bigger one, and that's really important. And the final one to look at then is fake token tracking. This is a bigger problem in itself. I've seen a number of cases now where victims have been given refunds to their frauds, but actually they provided them with a fake token, as in a fake USDT or a fake USDC or something like that to say, okay, here's your money back. When they've come to exchange it on the exchange says, well, this isn't real. The problem here too is that on some tools, they don't differentiate between what's real and what's different. You might end up seeing something that's fake and believe it to be legitimate. So again, just be careful when you're looking at tracing tokens that you're actually looking at a real token. Okay, so the first case study I'd like to show you is about fraud. And I think it's already been well covered, but we know it's very organized, it's very common, and it's highly abusive. And it's not just the people who are losing money who are the victims here. In many cases, there are a secondary set of victims. In particular, we can look at things like these fraud compounds. I would suggest it's on an industrial sort of scale. Many of them operated in Southeast Asia. You can see a vertical shot of one of the ones. This is based in Myanmar. In many cases, the people who are sent to these compounds are tricked into going there. So they're offered a lucrative tech job or maybe a customer support job. They'll arrive, they'll think they're going to work in a hotel, or maybe they're going to do some IT support, something else. They're then tricked into working there. Then they're held for ransom. If you haven't read this report from the UNODC, I strongly suggest you do. It's very, very, very well produced. Very much an interesting sort of side of things. And when I say industrialized, I think we first heard about this about 2 years ago when we started looking at they call it pig butchering, which is a pretty dismissive term. When we started looking at this those years ago, one of the contacts we spoke to said, oh, there's compounds, they have over 10,000 people inside them doing these things. I was genuinely shocked. I thought, well, how on earth can there be 10,000 people? And then I started seeing pictures from inside the compounds and the kind of details. And to sort of get the true scale of this, it's quite incredible. Like, it's so much more. I think there are lots of difficult policy challenges for politicians to deal with, but on a general side, this is a huge issue, and we need to do everything we can. And it's not just about, okay, these people in Western Europe or North America have lost money. Quite often, these guys are recruiting workers from Southeast Asia, South Asia, across the African region as well, and tricking them to come to these compounds and then treated in dreadful circumstances. In many cases, they're tortured, abused, beaten. Some of them commit suicide. It's an utter human disaster, and I really, would love to do more about it if anyone wants assistance. Okay, so I want to talk about a particular case here, perhaps differently. This is a more common case. And I'll demonstrate how we do the case in a minute. So an individual was subject to fraud, and they were basically said, go to this website, advertise on Twitter by an account pretending to be Elon Musk, and said, oh, I've decided to put on a special event for you. Here's the website link, go to, send me money and I'll double it for you. So one person lost over 400,000 euros. Can we find that person? So just bear with me while I swap my screen over to the investigations view. I try and work out how to use the Zoom as well. Okay. So okay, you should be able to see a Chrome window now. So we found the image, Elon promoted the site. So the first thing we did then is go to the website, and as you can see, it's been taken down. And we see this a lot with fraud, right? People are quite proactive in shutting down those sites. We go to our good friend, the archive.org, and we find a cached page. One thing I would say for those of you who do fraud investigations, make sure you cache a copy of the page. We, as a rule, will always cache the page to archive.org. So whenever we come across a scam website, we'll do that. But here you can see the page. It looks like Medium, the popular blog site. You can see it's basically stolen the layout of them. There's some great things here, but no real clues about what's going on. You can see we go to this site and there's a crypto address, and then we can take the cryptocurrency address. I'll copy it and I can paste it into our tool. And we can see that there are connections with the giveaway scam. Okay, so here we can see the address is in this cluster called giveaway scam, right? So individual address belongs to giveaway scam. We can also get an overview too about where the currencies come from. So we can see 73% of it came from a licensed exchange, so 1.3 Bitcoins. We can see here that came from what looks like mainly Western European, North American facing service providers, maybe not so much Binance, but certainly the other ones, Coinbase, Gemini, and Kraken, are very popular in North America. Okay, so the next thing I can do then is I can go to all connections, and let's see how far else the signal goes. So what this will do is the signal will propagate until it finds a known point, right? So inside there, we can see a little bit more detail, and we can see that some of it was sent to an unlicensed exchange. This is ThorChain, that's a cross-chain bridge. We can see that some of it was sent to an Avalanche bridge, and the rest of it is settled funds, meaning that it hasn't been spent yet. Okay, so let's go to our visualization. Let's do it by entities. And we'll start a nice graphic now. So we can see that there's money gone there. We can see it's shipped to another cluster and off it goes. But what's interesting is, let's look at the next cluster. Did this receive money from anywhere interesting? So as we go through the investigation, we can see, okay, well, we know it's got some money from a giveaway scam and it's received a fairly large amount, and I can filter that actually by, I can show amount in fiat currency. So $100,000 is quite a lot of money. But where else did it receive money from? So I can go to the Connections tab within the tool. Great. And now I can click on this, and I can see now lots of other places money's come from. But let's filter it just by scam, because that's what I'm interested in. And if I look on the list here, you'll notice something common, which many of them have relationships with Elon Musk. So we have GiveTesla.com. So we can see that whoever was running this site, which we know is related to Elon Musk, also was operating some other sites, most likely, and sending their money here. So if I then sort of extrapolate that forwards, we can continue to trace the funds until, you know, they go to the next location. And what we end up with if I keep tracing forward on my case, I'll eventually get to a point where we can see some sort of common elements to it, right? So the question we now have is, okay, we've established that this person's money has been stolen. Where else did their money go? Like, what other sites these people operating? We're trying to infer now a financial a relationship between these particular parties. All right, so I'll go to the visualization. And just to save a bit of time building a visualization, what you can see is there's our giveaway scammer. And you can see this node has connections with those other scams. I can then go forward. And then if I look here at this wallet address, what we'll also notice is the receipt amount is 250. So I'll now look at the scam tab again. And again, you'll see if I open this particular address, change to all connections and look at the scam, you'll notice a common thing. All of these sites, pretty much, to do with Tesla, to do with Elon Musk. Okay, this is interesting. We can see now the funds received 250 Bitcoin. That's a lot of money. Inside that link here too, you'll notice that it's not all scam. How do you know it's related to scams? Well, if we look at the connection distance, so these are +3 hops, these are +2. What's likely is that there are scam website addresses inside this path of 3 that we hadn't detected before. As in, we don't know those scam websites. There are gaps in our coverage, but we have to acknowledge we're not going to get everything. They have lots of websites. But we can say that whoever received the money to this wallet was almost certainly the beneficiary of 270 Bitcoin, which is staggering, like $8 or $9 million worth of crypto. So the story with this report is that we were going through this investigation, nothing had happened. We were about to write some media about it and say what happened to this story that took place in 2021. And then, lo and behold, the funds started moving on the 16th of March, and they started to get moved when thinking about a laundering plan through to a number of wallets until we eventually see it go to this node here, which is called Thorchain. Thorchain is a cross-chain bridge. It allows you to move from like the Bitcoin network to the Ethereum network or wherever else. They then moved it over to the Ethereum network. They took it to Ethereum. They converted it from Ethereum to USDT, so Tether, a currency, and then started to store the money in this wallet. And eventually all the funds sat here, $9.4 million worth of USDT. Through some discussions between our investigator, one of our clients, and Tether, we have been able to have this address blocked, which means that the person who has the USDT here is no longer able to move it, meaning they can't actually spend it anymore. This is a positive result, right? We've just taken $9.4 million away from a criminal, and now we potentially can have it reprinted to a new address and given out to victims. What this case shows nicely is that, first of all, that you can link together multiple scam addresses. Like fixation on one particular site can be quite narrow, and it can really limit your investigation. So be open to the fact that there may be other sites you haven't identified, and can you look for those collection points? Can you look for those central nodes that are receiving all the funds before they're dispersed elsewhere? And many of them will operate in a similar sort of way. The second part is that just because money's been sent there doesn't mean it's the end of the story. If you continue to trace it, you continue to watch it, you continue to track it, even if it doesn't end up on an exchange, in some cases, it's possible to have some intervention, right? We can seize the USDT in this case. Another thing you can do too is publicize this wallet address is involved in crime or involved in whatever else. If exchanges see that and they have a registration, with their local bank or whatever else, they have to do something about it. They have to act on those alerts. The problem we have is if that information is kept in silos or kept in like one particular relationship, not all the exchanges will see it because not all exchanges use the same tools as us. So it's important to make sure that data is public. There should be almost like a hit list. These are the guys who are doing this stuff. These are the guys we want to interrupt and stop. Anyway, that's the Elon Musk Bitcoin scam. I'll switch on to my next case now, which I shall do fairly quickly because I'm sure we need some time for questions. Just a second. Okay, so this case involves a chap called Murat Tambiev. Murat Tambiev was a Russian law enforcement officer who was arrested by the Russian government for taking bribes in cryptocurrency. And on a raid of his house, they discovered in a folder marked pension, private keys which controlled 1,032 Bitcoins. So I think that was around $20 million roughly at the time. This is his address. Like, we were able to discover his address from reviewing some legal documents associated with the case, and we were able to identify one for it. And you can see here the activity of the Russian police. You can see they sent, first of all, a test transaction of 0.05 Bitcoin, make sure it goes to the right place. And then once that had arrived, 20 minutes later, they shuffle the remainder of the funds, the 1,032 to it. And that's seized by the Russian government, right? So they've taken Murat Tambiev's thing. The case took an interesting twist, though, is that under questioning, The members of the gang who Tambiev had been investigating for cyber fraud, a group called Infraud, here they are on the US government's most wanted page. Some of them have been arrested, including the leader here. They said, no, hold on a second. We didn't give you just 1,032 Bitcoin. We gave you over 2,000. Like, something's not telling the truth. So what we can do on chain is we can verify this, right? Can we find the relationship between the money that was paid to Tambiev, and can we find the money that the criminals under questioning said, well, we sent it? And as it stands, absolutely we can. If I just wind forward to the right-hand side here, you can see where the money's going to now. Where's my Tambiev? Here's Tambiev. So we can go backwards from here, and we can see that, okay, there's money sent. Back here, you can see here too that 2,064 Bitcoin was received from an in-fraud related cluster and was also sent to the Tambiev address, and that was this guy here. Going backwards then, we'll then find the other 654 Bitcoin that the members of the gang said that had been sent. Again, this is interesting because we're now able to confirm what they've said. The difference is, though, 1,032 was seized by the Russian government. What happened to the remaining money? We're now able to trace that forward and say, okay, this is where that money went to. We see which exchange service providers it had been sent to, 34% to Huobi within 1 hop, Whitebit 11% within 5 hops. You can then see some custodial wallets along the path. Why they're custodial wallets? Because they have a low number of addresses, a low number of transactions. They don't have any strong sending exposure to an exchange. We can then solve this case. And again, this is good for us because we can now verify what the criminals have told us, right? We can now verify that, okay, this guy had received a bribe from them. We can verify that, yes, there was indeed more than just the 1,032 we found. There's more money elsewhere. And now we can start following up with HTX and Whitebit and say, okay, well, whose money is this? Similarly, when we look at the pattern too, we can see that the money has been broken down into smaller amounts to layer it across the exchanges. Again, they're being careful not to cross over huge thresholds to raise any sort of suspicion. The final thing to talk about then is, okay, how do we know this is an in-fraud related wallet, and what other activities are in-fraud related to? So if I take this one, for example, I can look at the connections exposure. This is, again, the 1032 wallet that went to Marat Tambiev. You see lots of red on it, but you can see many of it came from a .NET service provider. Who was that, you might add? UniCC. UniCC is a credential sharing website where people can buy and sell stolen credit card information. That was the exact activity that Infraud were doing. So we can now also associate Infraud with UniCC shop too. We can start to get a better profile of their group. We can see also, let's look down here, LuxSox as well, and Bancomat. So again, we have a good idea that, yeah, this is definitely related to Infraud. They definitely sent a bribe payment. Money got received by Marat Tambiev. We were able to recover the idea about that. And we're also able to identify that the other money was being sent around too. I think I'll go back to my PowerPoint presentation. And I guess we will leave it open for some questions.
Thank you, Nick, for the session. And with this, I would like to invite all the speakers for question and answer. And, most of the things have already been answered by the speakers. But to start with question and answer, there's one misconception, or I would say a myth I would want you guys to, clarify. That a lot of people think that if money is money is converted into crypto, so the person becomes anonymous. So can that be traced? Can that, obviously you showed it, but is this true that the person becomes anonymous and it is difficult to trace? And if so, if the person is traced, how difficult is it to convert the money back and bring it back in the country?
I guess I can take this like this one here. So whenever there's a transaction on the blockchain, we can see that, right? And again, I like to manage expectations a little bit. We can definitely see when a transaction has been initiated between party A to party B. Do we know who both parties are in that relationship? No. And then we have to spider out until we get to a point where we do know it, and then try and work backwards and play that game of telephone, right? Where we're passing information back until we find out the true ownership of that. As someone wrote in the comment, is what happens if they swap passphrases? Like, what happens if they share a private key with each other instead of just like processing the transaction? We can't. Like, it's just flat not possible to tell that. Not with our tools anyway. Like, you might be able to do it from a cyber side, like you might be able to intercept an email or something like that. But other than that, it's not feasible. What I would say though is there is a huge amount of risk to both parties in sharing those phrases, right? And one thing I've seen in criminals is like there's supposed to be a code where they don't steal from each other. I think we all know they absolutely do steal from each other whenever they get a chance. So they would be very brave to share that data with each other. In cases where it does happen, we're stuck, we can't do anything. You kind of have to wait until they resurface, because at some point they're going to want to swap their cryptocurrency or give it to someone who's going to trade it. I also want to talk about the transnational thing, and I was really interested in what Mr. Jitendra said earlier. Very, very interesting about how money is laundered in different locations. We have an active case at the moment where someone who was robbed in an East Asian country, they had money in Bitcoin stolen from them. The cash out point was not another East Asian country or locally. It was actually in North Africa. So like this is truly huge global operations, and the cash out point in North Africa wasn't a Binance account or a Coinbase account. It was a guy who did money changing for tourists, basically. So again, it's a huge thing, and from our perspective, we're very much focused on trying to find these very low level guys who do this stuff, because we think they're the ones that cause you guys the biggest headache. If we can disrupt that end, we're having a much better opportunity to disrupt the whole thing. Trying to focus on those scam websites, we'll do it forever. They'll just make more. Trying to catch the intermediaries, the guys who are doing the conversion in the center and the cash out point at the end, these are the ones that we think we're going to get the most return on.
Thank you, Nick. And since Jitendra sir and Professor Triveni Singh is here, there is a question that what is the procedure to seize a crypto wallet? And also, is there any SOP regarding to convert crypto seized by LEA to Indian currencies?
See, I've already conveyed that SOP. We have prepared an SOP draft of that. And very soon we will release it for the law enforcement agency. So far, in relation to seizure, there are various scenarios in that. One says that it is a web wallet, hosted wallet within some exchange, and the assets are lying with some exchange. We prefer to detention order and under section 102 CRPC to freeze the assets as it is there available there. Second thing is that if you have a non-hosted wallet, in that case, it is always recommended that immediately an official wallet should be created by Indian exchange, and a separate official wallet will be created. You have to be notified it from your headquarters that you are opening an official wallet. Intimation will be given to them, and a letter will be sent to the concerned exchange. That exchange will open a wallet, and whatever assets you have in the suspect wallet or suspect location in hardware, you should immediately transfer that asset to make the seizures, make the proper procedures, mention entire transaction details in the seizures, and give a copy to the exchange asking him to retain the assets till further order of the court. This is the procedure you have to follow. Another procedure is that you can purchase a hardware wallet, official wallet, from the permission of your SP headquarters or your headquarters. You can transfer the suspect's assets to your hardware wallet, but for that you have to maintain just of the keeping secrecy related to the private keys and seed phrases. For that, we are already draft has been prepared related to this procedures, and designated officers will be dedicated to in the every districts and states to handle all this kind of seizures and procedures. Because disposal is also another issue in that, where to liquidate the asset and how to maintain the market values of that. Because when you see the market value is sometimes high, if it goes low, then what will happen? I always suggest that law enforcement agency to immediately after the seizure of these assets, crypto assets, approach the court immediately, file an application for disposal of that asset, that it should be liquidated immediately, otherwise the market value will fluctuate up. So make the part ask the court to issue notice to the accused and even to the victim also. Let them come on the same page in the court. Let the court decide whatever it deems fit under section. Now new law has been created in under section 494. We have a provision when investigation and during investigation any assets can be disposed of. So in keeping in that scenario mind, we can ask the court to dispose it, but don't keep it for too long. Otherwise, it will be affecting the investigations and it will affect the value of that asset also.
Got it, sir.
With this, I have covered this portion of it.
Yeah, thank you so much for this, sir. The next question is there a mechanism where we can trace the crypto transfer to dark web or hardware wallet with the combination of crypto address, transaction ID, IP address, MAC address, network used, type of device used, or any combination thereof?
Definitely, crypto exchange. Dark web does not have a separate blockchain related to cryptocurrency. Every transaction which is transaction, it is going on cryptocurrency blockchain. If it is on blockchain, you use it for the means of darknet, use it for the means of any other purpose or laundering purpose. It can be tracked down if it is on blockchain. If it is not on blockchain, then it is a difficult problem to track that. That is the P2P. In P2P conditions, the transaction is not affecting on the blockchain. It is not reported on the blockchain. In that condition, you have to approach the concerned exchanges where that has been taken, or you have to follow the other practical problems, or you have to follow the other trails of addresses where how they connected to each other.
Got it, sir. So the next question is for Crystal. That does Crystal offer any training programs for law enforcement or financial institutions where they can help and train people about investigating crypto crimes?
Hi, Shashank. Yes, we do have. Am I audible?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Go ahead.
Yes, we do have training programs, and we can share details about that. But yes, to answer your question, yes, we do have.
So
we would like to know specifics of that.
Yeah, you would be the key person to contact for such training programs. So Sanjeev's detail is there in the chat box. In case anybody wants to have a training program in law enforcement, can definitely contact him. Also, Nick or Sanjeev, you can answer that. How does Crystal utilizes predictive analysis or in the investigation? Is there any mechanism that that can flag off or can predict something about the kind of crypto crimes that is happening, seeing the trend or seeing some pattern?
I think it's kind of a difficult one to answer. I think as soon as we have an idea about a trend or a prediction, like they kind of move to something new. So it's really hard to try and stay on top of it. I also think too about laundering patterns and attribution. And again, I think anybody who's worked around cyber before has sort of seen the same things, which is attribution is the hardest part, right? Saying who did something is the most difficult part of any cyber investigation for DFIR. And from our side, you can't necessarily do it easily within the tool. What we are looking more towards now is this address might be this type of service. And more about, or it might just be a service at all, right? So this is probably a service of some description. You guys want to stop there and not trace any further. But to know if it's like a bad transaction or a good transaction, we do have that facility, as in you can see the exposure of a particular entity to risk things. So based on the idea, if you receive money from bad places, you're probably involved in something. And the closer you are to it, the more likely you are to be involved in the badness directly. We do have that sort of looking at, but predicting, whether or not an address is a good one or a bad one, or the behavior it's achieving is not something we think is reliable enough yet. Like there may be a point in time where that changes, but right now it's still something we're looking at more generally. I will say though, one of the easiest ways, just as an investigator can do it, is profile what exchanges you see being used as off-ramps. So for example, if the person using the exchanges, many of their off-ramps are in, let's say Eastern Europe, like they're Eastern European registration ones, or they have, you know,
Jitendra
Russian ruble or hryvnia, sort of like counterparty, you can take a good guess that they're probably living or based around there because they want that currency. And it's kind of the same everywhere else.
पूछ लीजिएगा नहीं तो बताओ। ओके
Triveni sir, are you saying saying something?
नहीं, मैं ये कह रहा था कि जितेंद्र से, चूंकि जितेंद्र आज की डेट में इन्वेस्टिगेट कर रहा है और जो उससे रिलेटेड जितने रेगुलेशन है, लॉ है, सर्च सीजर सबसे डिफिकल्ट पार्ट होता है इसका, अभी इन्होंने बोला भी। तो पुलिस ऑफिसर ज्यादा कनेक्टेड है इसमें, पुलिस डिपार्टमेंट से लोग हैं। तो अगर पुलिस से रिलेटेड कोई और प्रोसेस की कोई प्रोसीजर के बारे में जानना चाहता है, लीगल अगर कोई कंफ्यूजन हो उसको कि, और इन्वेस्टिगेशन के लिए आप लोगों ने टूल देखा, क्योंकि काफी जितेंद्र का काफी एक्सपीरियंस है, तो आप पूछ सकते हैं। ये अपॉर्चुनिटी बार बार नहीं मिलती, तो इसलिए मैं कह रहा हूँ कि जितेंद्र इसमें कॉम्पिटेंट है। मैं मानता हूँ कि बेस्ट इन इंडिया है जो इसको रिप्लाई कर सकते हैं। तो पुलिस ऑफिसर्स या आप चैट बॉक्स में देखिए, अगर उनसे रिलेटेड कोई क्वेरी हो तो जितेंद्र से कहिए। जितेंद्र
अभी विश्वास जी का सर क्वेश्चन आया है that during investigation of crypto cases, the exchanges do not provide the required details, especially Tron, etc. Even exchanges like Binance ask for court order to provide details. So ऐसे में क्या कर सकते हैं sir?
This is not right. The Binance is asking for court orders. Court orders is only required for the purpose of freezing of assets and transfer of assets. In relation to information, if you have any problem, you can call me and you can send message. You log in into Codex platform, and you every day lots of thousand informations are being sent to the India by Binance. Tron is not responding. That's right. But if you want to approach Binance, they are readily available and registered with FIU, and they will cooperate with it.
Right. Let me see if there are other questions as well. So I think Shrauvik has a question that how many blockchains in your tool have? I think this is for Crystal.
Okay, so at a general level, it's over 300. I think it's 330 is what we have at the moment. Let me just check my numbers. 335 we support at the moment in terms of blockchains. In terms of sort of visualization, we have 8 right now. So you can actually produce visualizations for 8 of them. But that being said, we're constantly adding new ones. We tend to go where the most popular ones are. So anything on Tron, Bitcoin, Ethereum, Binance Smart Chain, we have those fully covered. So, and that's where most of the activity takes place. Occasionally you will get some like very out there investigations that take place, but we will cover those when we need to.
Got it. Thank you. I think with this, we will take a final comment from all the speakers. And I would like each one of you to give your insight on this. So based on your data and insight and expertise, all of you, all the speakers, what emerging trend in crypto crime should companies and government be aware of in future? Because we are talking about the future crime. So what are your top 2 or 3 picks that what should be aware of? What would be the trend in coming days? Each one of you, sir.
The coming trend is investment. We are looking after investment scams not since now. It has been prevalent since last 3 years, and it has been continued. Every time the mode has been changed. Sometimes it through a phishing website, sometimes it's an application, sometimes it is another pretext. It is a mean of transferring the. See, hacking is a very least seen in the in India specifically. I have not noticed any hacking which has been reported in India related to cryptocurrency. It is a means of crime. It is a means of laundering of funds, and it is not directly any report has been seen wherein the hacking or any exchange has been hacked, or some wallets has been hacked, some private keys has been hacked because they are compromised through some people are not very computer you can system friendly. They used to store the private keys on the web browsers and store in the systems. When you the threat actors used to scan your system, then it is easy for him to track down the private keys, because a specific type of private key algorithm is used to create a private keys, and there are a lot of you can say softwares are available on GitHub to scan a system to identify assets related to cryptocurrency and private keys also. If one private key is found, then everything is compromised.
Thank you for this, sir. Anyone from Crystal would answer this, that what would be the future trend in crypto crimes in India? Nick, Sanjeev, sir.
I constantly.
Yeah. So apart from what Jitendra Singh just mentioned, one thing we should be very cautious about future is there are many state actors or state-sponsored actors at least who are using a lot of sophisticated technology, and they are very, very, resourceful. And they do not get into smaller crime. They compromise a lot of, infrastructure of importance, or security operators, and all those things. So obviously, the government is aware about this, and they are doing a lot of activities. So we should be very, very prepared towards that angle as well. Nick, to you.
Nick, would you like to add something to this, please? Yeah, so we just on a side note, so we often do like predictions and trends for every year, and we started them last year and we continue to update them. We've done 2 so far. I think the big trend that we see is generally in crime is more about the platforms on which criminals work on rather than necessarily the tools in which they're using. We do see a preference for criminals using Tron and USDT. I think that's one of the biggest ones that we see, and I think that trend's going to continue. I think, however, though, the big one you should all watch out for is as there is more activity by Tether, the issuer of USDT, against scams and things, where the criminals are going to go next. Are they going to look for a stable coin like DAI, perhaps, where it's much harder for people to censor them or take the money away from them? I think that's the big thing that you want to watch out for, is how do they adjust to a more active Tether. The other thing to look forward as well is how they embrace new technologies which make tracing incredibly difficult, particularly thinking about the Lightning Network on Bitcoin. I shan't go into the concept of Lightning Network now, but long story short is it makes payments much faster, but also has some privacy things built into it as well. So I think those are the 2 things you want to watch out for. One is how they respond to Tether being more active in blocking their addresses. And the other thing you want to look out for is when they start adopting Lightning or other payment technologies like that.
Thank you for all that key takeaway. And with this, we come to an end of this interesting webinar. I know there would be a lot of questions for the speakers. I would request all the participants to send their questions at research@futurecrime.org, and we will get it answered from all the speakers. In case you want to know more about crystal intelligence, the Sanjeev sir's numbers is there. And yes, Future Crime Research Foundation has launched its volunteer program, which is called Future Crime Warriors. So if you want to become warrior and you want to become a part of Future Crime's mission, then you can just go to our site and log in there and send in your detail, and we will contact you. And this Saturday, we are having an online session on what will be the role, responsibility, and actions of Future Crime Warriors. And thank you all the participants, speakers, and Crystal Intelligence to be the part of this webinar. It was very interesting and insightful. And also for your feedback, you can send your email to research@futurecrime.org, and we would love to answer them all. Thank you, each one of you, for participating in this webinar.
Thank you.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Thanks, FCRF.